Exposed. 12 sinister tales from the haunted middle of nowhere that will terrify you forever. Lisa took a deep breath as she stepped out into the thick blanket of darkness swallowing Meadow Creek. The chill dug into her bones, every goosebump an echo of the town's haunting silence. She glanced back at her small, run-down house, where Jamie and Theo huddled inside, shunned by the flickering streetlights that flickered like dying stars above. Tonight, like every night lately, she would clean the old hospital, its neglected halls rumored to be haunted by forgotten horrors. Her heart pounded with the weight of desperation. Life had pressed its foot upon her throat, but she pushed onwards. As she entered the hospital, a wave of metallic odor engulfed her, and her fingertips trembled against the rough handle of her cleaning cart. The air was stale, thick with secrets and despair, every shadow seeming to reach out for her. The echo of her footsteps bounced off the cracked walls, and she swore she heard whispers faint yet insistent, casting doubt on her sanity. Sinister tales, they said. Tales of patients who vanished without a trace, never recorded, just gone. She shook her head, desperate to clear the impending dread. Her eyes darted to the corners of the room. The shadows felt alive, watching her with unseen eyes. It was then she spotted them, abandoned patient files strewn on the floor, like teeth from some ravenous beast. She couldn't resist. As she opened one, a frigid sense of dread curled in her stomach. The last entries read like a horror movie script, unexplained blackouts, frantic cries, names crossed out with violent strokes. Her breathing quickened, and sweat pooled in her palms. Could there truly be something lurking in these walls? It was a fragile question that gnawed at her. Hang in there, Lisa, she whispered, trying to silence her rising panic. But with every creak of the floorboards, the night felt heavier, darker. She was alone, or was she? Then there was the mayor. A brief flicker of relief shone through her tired heart when he visited. "Things will get better," he said with a smile that felt more like a mask. She clung to those words like a lifeline, yet a lingering doubt plagued her. It was the old man who lived down the block, his frail fingers trembling as he spoke. "You need to be careful, Lisa," he rasped. "There are eyes everywhere, and the hospital holds shadows it should never have. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The shadows deepened as Lisa pushed deeper into the bowels of the hospital. The emptiness around her began to feel suffocating, the whispers growing louder, more urgent. The hairs on the back of her neck prickled with unease. Power flickered, then went out. Suddenly, the echo of her heartbeat drowned out everything else as panic seized her mind. A scream echoed through the shadow-laden hallways, raw, chilling, as if the hospital itself cried out in pain. Lisa's blood ran cold. The hunt was on, and she and her children might be next. Would they even remember her? The darkness around her felt alive and hungry, ready to swallow her whole. And amid the paralyzing fear and adrenaline, she steadied herself for an escape. What had she awakened in the hospital's haunted depths? She needed to find out before it was too late. Lisa barely had time to gather her thoughts before shadows whispered around her, wrapping tight like cold fingers. Breathless, she darted down the hall, her cleaning cart clattering behind her, an unwelcome reminder of her mundane reality clashing with the horror lurking within these walls. Each hurried step echoed through the abandoned corridors, the creaks and rustles amplifying her dread. Keep moving, she muttered, her heart thundering in rhythm with her hurried pace. The musty air clung to her skin. Heavy with the ghosts of the past, every turn held the promise of a new terror. Another scream, this time closer, pierced her thoughts. It was a woman's voice, filled with anguish. Lisa froze, the blood draining from her face. She mustered what little courage she had left and crept towards the sound, moving silently like a shadow herself. The whispers grew clearer now, calling her, enticing her to come closer. It was like being drawn towards a black hole, the pull almost irresistible. With trembling hands, Lisa pushed through a door that swung open with a groan, revealing a small room filled with tattered chairs and dust-coated equipment. The atmosphere thickened, a palpable murkiness that settled in her bones. In the corner, a figure sat huddled on the floor, rocking back and forth, mumbling incoherently. Lisa's gut twisted. Was this another patient? Had she found the ghostly remnants of the past? "Are you okay?" she croaked, surprised at how weak her own voice sounded in the still air. The figure stopped, its head snapping up, and their eyes met, sunken, hollow, void of light. Lisa took a step back, fear choking her. "Leave while you still can," the woman cried, her voice a frayed thread of sanity. They want you just like the others." Her words sent a shiver down Lisa's spine, the truth pressing down like a lead weight. "Others?" Lisa whispered, her pulse quickening. "What do you mean?" The woman began to laugh, the sound chilling as it echoed in the small room, reverberating off the walls like the last gasping breath of a victim. "They're everywhere. In the walls, in the floors, you see them, don't you?" Her expression shifted, eyes darting to a distant corner, and Lisa felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if a presence loomed just beyond her vision. A guttural sound broke through the silence, rattling the very air between them. Lisa's heart pounded, her instincts screaming at her to run. She turned, desperately seeking an escape from the madness engulfing her. With adrenaline surging, she sprinted back into the hallway, but the darkness felt like it was fighting to swallow her whole. Shadows twisted and danced at the edges of her vision, luring her deeper into the hospital's maw. Desperation clawed at her. She had to find a way out before she too became part of the hospital's sinister history. Suddenly, a force slammed into her from the side, sending her sprawling to the floor. A figure loomed over her, its face obscured by shadow. Black eyes bore down like two bottomless pits. "You shouldn't have come here, Lisa," it whispered, voice mingling with the rustle of the shadows, blurring the lines between reality and nightmare. As the air around her grew dense and suffocating, a horrifying realization washed over her. She was no longer just fighting for herself, but for her children. Would they remember her? Or would they too become whispers among the shadows? Lisa pushed herself off the floor, desperate and determined, ready to confront whatever this nightmare wanted from her. Every second counted, and she wouldn't let fear consume her. Right then, clarity surged within her, igniting a fire of resolve. But before she could act, a blinding light erupted, illuminating the hall for just a moment, throwing everything into sharp relief. And then darkness again. Silence fell. In that split second, a chilling thought clawed its way into her mind. What if she wasn't the only one still waking to the nightmare? The darkness writhed, and another scream echoed through the halls. Unsettlingly familiar, it pierced through the silence, sending her heart into a frenzy. And in that moment all hope wavered. In the heart of the darkness, the hunt was about to begin. The darkness throbbed with an unnatural pulse as Lisa scrambled to her feet, the shadows twisting around her like angry serpents. She could feel the icy breath of the figure behind her, pressing close enough to make her skin crawl. Heart racing, she turned and plunged into the corridor, racing against the screams echoing in her ears. She heard whispers again mocking her resolve, taunting her every step. The lights flickered sporadically, and she caught glimpses of grotesque figures darting just beyond the edges of vision, their limbs elongated, mouths contorted in silent wails. Was it her imagination, or were they real? Crawling along the walls, she reached an intersection. The air felt heavy, almost solid, as if the very fabric of the hospital was alive. A gut instinct screamed to choose not the left, nor the right, but to push forward. She needed answers. She needed to find the exit or confront whatever had awakened in this hellish place. "Help me!" A new voice, weak and strained, drifted down the hall. It was a whisper, desperate and fragile, imploring her to draw closer. She hesitated, dread sinking in like poison. Should she trust it? But the thought of leaving someone behind haunted her more than the horror waiting in the darkness. With every ounce of courage she could muster, Lisa turned left, then right, following the sound that pulled her deeper into the ominous maw of the building. "Please help me," the voice wept, growing louder and more frantic. She found the door. It was ajar, creaking slightly in the stale air. Lisa braced herself and pushed it open. Inside, a small, dim room lay before her, cluttered with flickering monitors and medical equipment abandoned long ago. In the center, a frail figure lay on the floor, curled into a tight ball. It was a woman, her long hair matted with grime, eyes glazed and haunted. "Please don't leave me," the woman rasped, lifting her head slightly. Her eyes locked onto Lisa's, filled with that same hollow despair. "They will come for you too." "Who will?" Lisa demanded, stepping closer, torn between fear and compassion. "They're hungry, they feed on fear." The woman's gaze flicked to the shadows beyond the door, her voice trembling. "You must go." "You have to." A loud crash behind Lisa interrupted her. Heart hammering, she spun around, the shadows closing in. A figure emerged, more defined than the rest, a man with a contorted grin, dragging something heavy behind him. Lisa's instincts kicked in. "Run," she yelled to the woman. "We need to get out." But as she turned, she saw the flicker of lights again, focusing on ominous shapes emerging from the darkness. Patient figures, disheveled and predatory, moved toward her. Their faces, once human, were twisted and unrecognizable, their intent clear. They craved fear. They craved her. She lunged back toward the doorway, the weight of dread pressing her down, but the shadows were faster. They surged, spiraling around her, wrapping tightly like octopus tentacles. Lisa screamed, the sound splitting the air, filled with pure terror and desperation. "Help me," the woman cried, reaching out a hand as the figures advanced. "Don't let them take you." A sickening realization struck Lisa like a blow. These figures were the remnants of souls forever trapped, waiting to claim others. And the woman, could she too become one of them? With adrenaline pushing her, Lisa pulled herself free from the ghostly grip, but she was not fast enough. An icy hand grasped her ankle, pulling her back toward the fray. "I won't let you go," it screeched, voice distorted, echoing like a banshee. Blackness swallowed them whole as Lisa's scream melted away into despair. The last thing she felt was the chilling touch of fingers reaching for her heart, the hunger clawing at her sanity. What would they do to her? What had they done to the others? As darkness enveloped her, the last vestiges of light flickered out, and in the depths of her mind, she heard it, the unsettling laughter echoing through the abyss. Lisa's world went quiet, leaving questions: what would happen now? And were there any left who could still save themselves from this waking nightmare? Lisa jolted awake, the cold floor biting into her skin. Silence cocooned her, thick and oppressive, but it felt different now, like the calm before a storm. She blinked against the dim light, shadows lurking in the corners. Her body ached. Every joint felt stiff, as if she had been stuck in one position for days. Panic surged as she scrambled to her feet, memories flooding back. The woman. Lisa's heart raced as she looked around. The room appeared empty, all those devices around her now quiet, as if they had never emitted the dreadful sounds that filled her ears just moments before. As she stumbled backward, the door creaked open slowly, revealing a narrow hallway stretching infinitely. The flickering lights guttered above, casting erratic patterns that danced and morphed, teasing her mind. She hesitated, the weight of dread urging her to stay put. But something whispered the urge to find. The woman gnawed at her relentlessly. "Help!" The soft voice drifted again, a thread of melody lost within the dissonance of shadows. Lisa edged closer to the doorframe, heart hammering in her chest like a caged animal. "I'm coming." "Where are you?" She squeezed through the doorway, moving carefully, every step feeling heavier as if she were wading through water. The hallway was eerily quiet. A pungent smell lingered, mingling fear with the scent of decay. With each passing second, she felt the darkness enveloping her, creeping in like the tide. Shadows twisted, forming menacing shapes. But Lisa pressed onward, each whisper calling her deeper. "Help me!" It was unmistakably the same voice, more shattered now, filled with desperation that churned within her. She turned a corner, eyes wide, scanning the area for signs of life. Flickers of movement slid past her, shapes indistinct yet familiar, personifying her inner fears. "Please don't leave me," it echoed from a room down the hall, engulfed in an unnatural darkness that swallowed the light. Lisa felt a pull, a mixture of fear and resolve urging her forward despite the chill creeping up her spine. She wanted to ignore it, to run, but guilt, that relentless specter, tethered her to the spot. As Lisa neared the door from which the pleas emanated, the air around her seemed to shift. A low rumble vibrated through the walls. The shadows coalesced again, birthing the figure of the man, dragging something heavy, feet scraping against the ground. "No!" she screamed, a primal instinct surging at the sight of the distorted grin stretching across his face. The woman was in there. She must be. Without thinking, Lisa pushed the door open. The stale air rushed out like a trapped scream, and inside, the room appeared suffocated by the darkness. She called out, "Where are you? Help me!" The voice rose to a screech. Lisa's heart sank. Panic eroded her courage as the woman's cries grew distant, becoming faint like echoes in a large chamber. The man lunged forward, shadows bending around him as he advanced, that sick grin unwavering. Lisa was frozen as she felt the air grow colder. 1,000 whispers rose around her like a chorus, closing in, but she couldn't give up. Not now. She turned, heart pounding, and bolted deeper into the hospital, knowing with each step that time was fraying, the darkness stretching to claim her. Yet the whispers sharpened. Pointed stares from the encroaching figures followed her every move. "We see you," they hissed. "You can't escape." Lisa dashed through a doorway and stumbled onto a staircase, the familiar pulse of fear coursing through her veins. The rancid stink followed her, cold shadows clutching at her clothes as she climbed higher. With each footfall, she could feel the dread closing in. The stairway yawned endlessly, rising into blackness. But there, just above her, a sliver of light beckoned. Light meant safety, hope. As she ascended, a sharp clatter echoed, rattling the stairs beneath her feet. Panic surged, and she raced upward, refusing to let the darkness pull her back. Yet as she reached for the light, a scream, not her own, rippled through the air, freezing her in place. "Don't let them take you." The woman's voice pierced through the gloom, blended now with laughter even darker than before. Lisa stared at the light, fear tearing her apart. Could she emerge from this? Or was she already too late? The shadows surged again, swirling like a miasma, closing in tightly around her. As dread coiled within, she felt the chill of realization. What if there was no escape? Her breath caught in her throat, and as the shadows thickened, the world around her dimmed to a near absolute black. Could she find a way? What awaited her if she didn't? In that moment of silence, could she still hear the echo of laughter trailing toward her, beckoning her back into oblivion? Lisa's pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out the sinister laughter echoing from the shadows. She blinked into the darkness, trying to will the figures away, but they lingered, watching. Feeling the pull of fear, she took a desperate step toward the light. It flickered above, taunting her. She climbed, each movement stiff and weighed down by an unseen hand. The shadows lunged, and she had to resist the urge to scream. "Just keep moving," she whispered to herself, fighting against the oppressive air. But the shadows were relentless. It was like they had a mind of their own, grasping at her ankles, pulling her down. Their whispers morphed into chaotic screams, drowning out coherent thought. Each shriek twisted in her head as she raced up the steps, breath quickening with the mounting terror. Suddenly, the light vanished. The staircase folded into the pitch-black abyss. Her feet stumbled, panic sending her sprawling to the ground. Heart racing, she scrambled to her feet again, squinting into the dark for any sign of it returning. The shadows now felt alive, wrapping around her limbs, coiling tight. Not again. She gasped, panic surging again. Not wanting to succumb to the despair, her instincts kicked in, a primal urge urging her to run. She bolted down the narrow staircase, hands clutching the railing for support, the splintered wood biting into her skin. As she descended, the air grew colder, heavier, each breath harder to take. The darkness vibrated with unseen energy, resonating around her. "Help me," the voice came clearer now, calling her back. A plea laced with a sinister undertone. It gnawed at her heart. But what choice did she have? The shadows were closing in again, smothering her, and she felt their cold fingers brushing against her cheek. They were too close. She could almost feel them whispering her name, beckoning her back. "No!" Lisa screamed, grinding her teeth together. "I want to help you." But it was futile. The shadows screamed back, echoing her fear, drowning it in a cacophony. With newfound resolve, she raced down again, this time without hesitation. Finally, she hit the bottom step and slammed through a door that swung open with a resounding creak. She stumbled into a vast chamber illuminated by a flickering fluorescent bulb. Blood-stained walls loomed around her, and the faint traces of grotesque shapes writhed within the decay. Before she could process the horror surrounding her, the door slammed shut behind her, plunging the room into a suffocating quiet. Lisa stood frozen, fighting against dread closing in like a vice. "Can you feel it?" A voice dripped from the shadows, smooth as silk yet crackling like static electricity. "Felt familiar." "You're so close, so very close." The figure materialized across the room. A woman with hollow eyes and a smile so wide it didn't seem human. She stepped forward, each footfall echoing menacingly. "Are you ready to help me?" she asked sweetly, but there was malice written in every line of her face. Lisa's heart raced, dread pooling at her feet. She was back in the thick of it, alive yet acutely aware of the dangers looming all around. "No!" Lisa shouted, retreating against the wall. The woman's laughter thickened the air, reverberating off the walls. But teeth clenched, Lisa took another step back. She would not give in. As the laughter echoed, it morphed into a chorus of cries. She felt the tug of despair pulling at her resolve. "What waits beyond here?" The woman tilted her head, an ominous curiosity brightening her smile. "Your fate is tangled with mine now. You cannot escape this truth. You will embrace it soon enough." Lisa's stomach churned. Was there any way out? The shadows surged, clawing their way toward her, and in that all-consuming moment, fear wrapped around her like chains. In the darkness, she realized she wasn't just running from the shadows. She was chasing them, racing blindly toward answers she might not want. Yet, as her back pressed against the wall, she couldn't shake the feeling. Something was coming, something beyond all this madness. Something worse. Would she see the truth or become a part of the darkness? The laughter grew louder, swallowing her whole. What awaited her on the other side of that next door? The woman's smile morphed as her laughter shifted into something guttural, a snarl that sent ice through Lisa's veins. The shadows wove closer, thickening, black tendrils reaching out to graze her skin. Lisa's breath quickened. She couldn't fight the pull of the woman's gaze. It bore into her, peeling back layers of her resolve. "No, I want tea," she cried, the sound dissolving into a strangled breath. The woman tilted her head, a predator savoring the moment. "You think you can refuse me? You're already entangled in this horror," she whispered, voice dripping with malice. "Get away from me," Lisa shouted. She pushed herself from the wall, adrenaline surging as she darted toward a shadowy corner, hoping to find an escape she could not see. The air in the chamber thickened, and an oppressive weight crushed her chest. The fluorescent bulb flickered again, casting distorted shadows that danced as if entertained by her fear. Every reflection twisted into something grotesque, and she felt as if they were mocking her. With frantic steps, she stumbled through the room, her fingers brushing against the blood-stained walls. Each touch grounded her. The cold, sticky texture sent shivers of revulsion through her. Images of the woman's cackling face replayed in her mind like a broken record, the sound mingling with the echoes of her own panicked breaths. "What do you want from me?" Lisa screamed, desperation tinging her voice. "I don't have anything to give you. You possess what I need," the woman replied, her voice now a quiet hiss, as the shadows curled around her feet, pulling tighter, closing in, nearly swallowing her whole. Lisa thought she saw a flicker of sharp teeth glinting under that maddening smile. But she wouldn't wait for that smile to haunt her forever. With trembling hands, she clutched a jagged piece of debris from the floor. There was no hesitation now. Fueled by adrenaline, she lunged for the woman, swinging the makeshift weapon with every ounce of strength she could muster. Just as quickly, the woman vanished in a swirl of black smoke, reappearing on the opposite side of the room, her laughter resonating with a haunting echo. "Your strength is amusing, dear." As the woman's figure flickered in and out like a malfunctioning light, Lisa realized she would not be successful in a face-to-face confrontation. She had to think fast, create a diversion, anything to buy herself time. Lisa turned her gaze to the far wall, where the shadows appeared to thicken. There's a way out," she yelled, feigning confidence despite the tremor in her voice. "Foolish child," the woman cooed, her eyes narrowing. "There's nowhere to run. This is your home now." The statement hit Lisa like a freight train. Heart racing, she scanned the walls. There had to be something, some chance, a window, a crack, anything. She had to escape this nightmare. With renewed determination, she dashed toward the back wall, feeling the shadow's breath on her neck. They weren't just chasing her. They were stalking her, anticipating her every move. In the corner of her eye, she spotted a faint glimmer behind a patch of darkness. "Help me!" Lisa screamed, reaching for it, willing it to be a door or a chance at escape. "Stop! Don't!" The woman's words tore through the air, but it was too late. Lisa's fingers grazed the surface, and the moment she touched it, a blinding light erupted, illuminating the chamber. A gasp caught in her throat as the shadows recoiled in horror, screaming as they dissolved into wisps of smoke. But the woman, she rushed at her, face contorted with rage. "You will pay for this," she shrieked, as the light enveloped Lisa, tearing at her sanity. A chilling revelation sliced through the chaos. What if the truth she sought was more terrifying than what she had fled? With a blinding flash, the world around her shattered. What lay beyond the veil of light? In the still air that followed, the silence felt thick. Had she escaped, or had she only stepped deeper into a nightmare yet unimagined? The light pulsed around her, drowning out the remnants of the chamber. Heat surged, unraveling the cold dread that had cocooned her. Lisa squeezed her eyes shut, instinct and fear resonating within her, battling the urge to flee into whatever it was that lay ahead. When she opened her eyes, she found herself standing in a dimly lit room, eerily familiar yet altered. It was her childhood bedroom, the air thick with the scent of dust and decay. Old toys lay scattered, and quilted lifelessness blanketed the bed. The walls whispered of forgotten memories, and shadows nestled in the corners, yearning to move. Panic clenched her heart. "No, not here," she murmured, recognizing the remnants of a sanctuary twisted by time into something repulsive. She took a step back, adrenaline thumping in her ears. That was just a glimpse. The woman's voice slithered through the silence, smooth as velvet yet suffused with venom. "You can run, but your darkest fears are never far behind." "Get out of my head," Lisa shouted, but her voice trembled. She felt the familiar prickling at the base of her neck. "Can you feel their sadness?" The shadows shifted, creeping toward her. "The things you left behind? They're hungry, just like me." Lisa's breaths came in shallow gasps. Memories surged, uninvited. She thought of the late-night screams, her parents fighting in the other room, the faceless horrors lurking beneath her bed. This space felt alive, pregnant with the remnants of her fears. This horror was new but strangely known. "Face them, Lisa," the woman purred, now perched casually on her childhood chair, her legs crossed like a twisted doll. "You've been escaping too long. Let's embrace this." In that moment, Lisa understood. It wasn't just the woman or the darkness that pursued her. It was the shadows of her own past, the traumas she had tucked away like faded photographs. A shadow flickered in the corner of the room, and she turned, heart hammering. The figure wore the face of her father, eyes glowing with sorrow and longing. He reached out, lips parted in anguish, yet nothing came from his mouth. Lisa stumbled backward, back against the wall, the chill of reality sinking in. This isn't real. You're not real, she yelled, panic clawing at the back of her throat. Oh, it's very real. Just as real as the pain you've tried so hard to forget. The woman's laughter rang like a death knell, drawing forth more shadows. They want you, Lisa. They need you. Lisa's heart pounded louder. She gripped the edges of the bed. What did she owe them? The past ripped at her insides like a feral beast. They were dead, forgotten. They couldn't touch her anymore. But that didn't stop them from trying. They surged forward, closing in, faces twisted in grief and rage, and she felt the heat of their desperation. The wooden floor creaked underfoot as she broke into a sprint, lunging for the door, the only escape in sight. It loomed before her like a looming specter, tantalizing freedom lurking on the other side. With every ounce of her being, she grasped the handle. "Let me out!" she screamed, wrenching it open. But as her fingers slid around the cold brass, the woman's voice drew her back, honeyed and sickly sweet. "Where will you go, Lisa? You'll always carry this with you, just like I told you." The door swung wide, but the vision beyond was a churning nebula of darkness, beckoning her further into the void. And suddenly, doubt clawed at her heart. Was the outside world real, or just another trap? The shadows surged closer, and Lisa's pulse quickened, oscillating between rage and terror. How could she escape something that had taken root in her mind? "What do you want?" she shouted, desperate for clarity, desperate for a shred of hope. "I want to show you," the woman said, a dark smile tracing her lips, "the truth of who you are." In that moment, an icy realization washed over Lisa. The confrontation wasn't with the woman. It was with herself. The shadows encircled her, whispering fears she fought hard to keep buried. As she teetered at the threshold of light and darkness, a chilling choice loomed. Would she forsake the shadows or allow them to consume her? "Step back into the light, Lisa," the woman urged, eyes glimmering. "Or dive deeper into your own abyss," and with her heart in her throat, Lisa stood on the precipice of a decision that could seal her fate forever. The darkness pulsed around her like a living thing, drawing nearer, as if the shadows had breath and intent. Lisa gripped the doorframe, her fingernails digging into the wood. "I can't stay here," she shouted. But the tremor in her voice was more than fear, it was a question of resolve, of courage. What did it mean to stay or leave? Was leaving the room an escape, or just a way to prolong the inevitable? "Listen to them," the woman whispered, her voice dripping with mock concern. "They're calling for you, begging for your forgiveness, for your acknowledgement. Are you ready to embrace your truth?" Suddenly, the faces of her parents twisted into the shadows, their mouths wide in silent screams. Lisa clutched her head, the cacophony of their pain echoing in her skull. She stumbled away from the whispers, retreating toward the door. Each step back felt like a wound, as if her memories could cut deep enough to bleed her dry. "No, I want tea," she gasped as something icy clutched her ankle, a hand materializing from the depths, fingers clawing at her skin, a siren of misery. She tore her foot free, sprinting towards the door while the shadows pulled at her limbs. The chilling grasp tightened, thin fingers threading through her hair, whispering secrets too vile to comprehend. Her heart thundered as she reached the threshold. With one surge of will, she leaped into the void, believing with every fiber of her being that she could escape. But the moment she crossed the threshold, the darkness shifted and twisted, reshaping the world around her. She landed hard on a cold stone floor. Lisa looked up, and her breath caught. This wasn't her childhood bedroom anymore. It was a cellar cloaked in shadows, bare stone walls closing in like the jaws of a beast. A flickering candle perched on a makeshift altar threw long, dancing shadows that reshaped her nightmares into twisted forms. "Welcome," the woman purred, materializing beside her, her smile wide, eyes glinting with malice. "Are you ready to confront what you buried?" In the center of the room lay a mirror, cracked and rusted at the edges. Lisa approached, each step slow, weighted with trepidation. The glass rippled, reflecting her image, yet her reflection morphed, twisting into dark versions of herself. Faces swarming with turmoil, emotions raging like a tempest. Each mirror marked a sorrow of failure, a grief, a truth she avoided. Lisa clenched her fists, drawing strength from clarity. "You're not real. You can't control me," she shouted at the woman, defiance sharpening her words. "Oh, but I am as real as your memories," the woman replied, her voice slithering around Lisa. "You can unlock those truths, Lisa. They'll set you free or they will destroy you." The mirror shimmered again, revealing flashes of past horrors. The abandoned whispers of her family, shadows of love turned to ash, and the feeling of loss, heavy as a blackened cloud. Each second of exposure clawed at her heart, forcing her to face what she'd rather forget. "No," she screamed, backing away, as the dark memories pressed closer, pressing against her chest. "I want to let you in." But they were already there, planting seeds of doubt. The shadows roared. Rage, regret, and despair burst forth, enveloping her. As the shadows began to swirl, chaotic and wild, the mirror emitted a painful screech, vibrating through her bones. The woman stood still, watching the tumult with delight. Time felt frozen. Lisa's breath quickened, panicked, feeling the weight of choices. "Face it all, Lisa. Stand strong, or I will drag you down." The woman's eyes darkened, filled with torment. With the shadows closing in, Lisa had to choose. Destroy the mirror and the truth within, or piece together her fragmented self, embracing all the pain she fought so desperately to escape. Would she rise, or would she fall? As the room shifted, pushing her towards a terrifying end, she gasped, "I know what I have to do." The darkness surged as the mirror trembled, as if aware, alive with anticipation. But Lisa didn't know if she had the will to face her own reflection. The moment stretched thin between dread and revelation. What choice would she make as the shadows whispered her name? Would she confront the depths, or would the depths claim her? The shadows danced around her, thick and alive, weaving through the air as if to cradle her heart in their icy embrace. Lisa stood before the mirror, her reflection twisting into nightmarish shapes, each one more grotesque than the last. Every face it showed fractured and filled with sorrow held a piece of her shattered soul, screaming for her attention. "Do it, Lisa. Break it," the woman hissed, her voice a slithering whisper. "End your suffering. Tear it apart." But the weight of the mirror's truths pressed down on her, a cold hand squeezing her chest. She felt paralyzed, the fear of facing those buried memories clawing at her mind. The shadows encroached, threatening to engulf her completely, and she could hear them whispering her name, a siren song of despair that promised liberation or annihilation. "Face your past. Embrace your pain," they chorused, their voices a sinister symphony. Panic swelled within her, threatening to choke out her breath. "They're counting on you. They need you to see." She cast a desperate gaze around the cellar, seeking an escape, some shred of hope amid the swirling chaos. But the flickering candle was a mockery, the shadows morphing into cries of betrayal, of regret. Each flicker ignited a memory long buried, laughter turning to silence, pleasantries twisting into accusations. "No, I want to listen," she screamed, her voice rising, filled with a raw desperation as she flung her arms out. "I want to be you." The woman laughed, the sound a chilling melody that ricocheted off the walls, echoing in the cavernous space. "You think you have a choice? You've already made your decision. I'm here to help you see it, to let it all spill forth." With an anguished shriek, Lisa leaned forward, hands trembling as they hovered over the cracked surface of the mirror. The shadows surged around her, threatening to pull her down into despair. Could she really confront what lay hidden there, the memories that were never whole? Never bright? Do it. The woman commanded, pushing her forward, the shadows swirling tighter, constricting as if to bear witness. Tears spilled down Lisa's cheeks, and she could feel her heart beating a frantic rhythm. This I senti my fault, she whispered to herself, grasping for strength she wasn't sure she had. I didn't mean to. The mirror began to vibrate violently beneath her fingertips, whispering fragments of truths she thought she had forgotten. The broken faces surged closer, shadows forming into the people she had lost, agony radiating from their eyes. Face us, Lisa. Face the truth. Set us free, they urged, their voices mingling with the cacophony of the darkness, pressing closer with each breath she took. And there it was, the truth, raw and pulsating before her, asking not just to be acknowledged but to be embraced. Just then, a crack loud enough to shatter the fabric of the room echoed through the cellar. Lisa felt the vibrations deep in her bones. She glanced at the mirror as it creaked under the weight of her decisions, her fears threatening to spill forth like a breed of ancient horrors awakened. Don't resist, the woman rasped, eyes glinting. What awaits you is freedom. Accept it or fight it, but know you will never have peace until you confront yourself. With a deep breath and the shadows inching closer, Lisa made her choice. She slammed her palm against the mirror, feeling the jagged glass slice into her skin. Let it all come, she cried, a mix of determination and dread flooding her voice. As the mirror shattered with a sound that sang of liberation and devastation, shards of darkness flew into the air like knives. Lisa's scream drowned in the chaos. The world around her refracted into a kaleidoscope of terror, each piece a reflection of the truth she could no longer avoid. And then everything went black. When the darkness finally receded, she stood alone again on the verge of the unknown. What would emerge from the jagged remnants of her shattered past? Lisa's breath hitched. Would she find clarity, or would the void consume her? A chilling silence filled the space, but something stirred in the distance, a presence gathering just beyond the edge of her awareness. The shadows were not finished with her yet. What awaited her in the blackness beyond? She had shattered her past. Could she withstand the truth it unleashed? Lisa stood there, heart racing, breath coming in shallow gasps. The air was thick with tension as shadows loomed, creeping back like restless spirits drawn to the remnants of her shattered memories. She took a tentative step forward, adrenaline surging like wildfire. Face it, Lisa, she whispered to herself. What's done is done. She felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted, but fear clung to her like an unwanted cloak. Would she find closure, or would the darkness still haunt her? Taking a deep breath, Lisa steadied herself, senses heightened. She had fought her way through nightmares. Now she had to confront her reality. The room flickered with momentary bursts of light, illuminating ghostly reminders of the pain she had endured, a parent's anguished scream, a child's innocent laughter, the weight of responsibilities that had chipped away at her soul. Bits of the past spun around her like a tornado, taunting her. I'm not afraid anymore, she yelled as determination simmered inside. Each scream and shadow felt like a crescendo in a symphony of chaos, building toward a climax she couldn't ignore. In the distance, a soft sigh echoed, and she knew it came from within her. Lisa took another steadying breath, the air heavy with unspoken truths. The shadows remained swirling, but they seemed less menacing, as if waiting for her to embrace them rather than run. I see you and I accept you, she said, her voice gaining strength, each word a declaration of defiance. A piercing silence enveloped her, embracing her confessions. The darkness slowed, swirling reluctantly before coalescing into a single shape, the woman. Her smile faltered, seemingly taken aback. What's this? You choose to embrace? Yes, Lisa yelled, her voice echoing with conviction. I choose to acknowledge my past. You don't control me anymore. Each word was like the shattering of chains binding her, echoing through the emptiness. The woman looked more human now, the anger fading into confusion. Your fear is your power, Lisa. Don't you see? Without it, what are you? I'm me, she shot back, And I will not let you shape my identity, not now, not ever. With every ounce of strength, she stepped forward. Light began to pour from her, forcing the shadows back. Instead of trembling, Lisa felt a pulse of warmth radiating from within, illuminating her surroundings, shattering the suffocating stillness. "You!" the woman screamed, her figure disintegrating, shadows peeling away like a bad memory. "You'll regret this choice." But Lisa didn't falter as the darkness turned to light, each flicker a reminder of the strength she had found within. She lifted her arms, feeling the warmth wash over her, enveloping remnants of sorrow and pain, transforming them into light, a beacon of hope. "I won't carry your fears anymore," she declared, and with that blow, the last vestiges of darkness crumbled, fought back by the light that shattered the air around her. And then silence. Lisa stood in a vast, embracing calm, the shadows dissipating into nothingness. The oppressive weight fell away, replaced by the sounds of her heart beating steadily, like a drum of understanding. She had confronted her past, broken its grasp, and in doing so, discovered the power within. "What awaits me now?" she murmured, turning, looking into the bright expanse before her. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Lisa felt free. Not held by shadows, not confined by their whispers. "Mom?" A distant voice stirred behind her, unmistakably soft and loving. A small, familiar figure materialized before her Theo, his wide eyes shimmering with the innocence and love only a child could possess. "Is it really you?" Lisa asked, tears spilling down her cheeks as she knelt, pulling him into her embrace, every piece of her heart mending with the comforting warmth of his body. "Is it over?" he asked, and she felt his tiny hands clutching her shoulders. "It is," she whispered, with certainty now ringing in her voice. "It's finally over." And as they stood together, basking in the glow of healing light, a soft laugh echoed in the air. The remnants of the traps they once feared fading into the memories where they belonged. Together, they stepped into the light, hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. The past finally laid to rest. If you've made it this far, don't wait another second. You need to subscribe now for more thrilling stories that will undoubtedly keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and show your support because your clicks matter. I want to hear from you. Flood that comments section with your theories and reactions about this incredible journey. What did you think of the ending? And don't delay. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to dive deep into this wild conclusion. Only true fans understand the power of supporting the channel through these actions.